Hello YouTube, I'm back again with another video. This time it's an update deck profile of my modern deck, but now I'm just doing Rakdos because it's a lot more simpler and I feel the power creep has become a lot more extensive, and I got to be able to make more changes and make sure to modify my deck to able to play at its fullest extent in order for it to be viable. There's still some cartridges you'll recognize for those who are into Magic, who've been keeping track of my videos. But you'll notice I actually tuned it up a bit to make it more able to exert itself and be able to actually win me duels. So I'm gonna continue, and we're about to proceed. So furthermore, let's start off with the creatures. Obviously, we're just playing 4 Bone Crusher Giant. Again, the theme behind this deck, the win condition is simply just burn your opponent to death. Gotta play 4. I'm not gonna really explain that card. I'm only most likely gonna just explain new cards that I'm revealing to you guys. This card is actually new, which I recently managed to get a hold of. So I'm playing a playset of Eidolon of the Great Revel. So this will come in very handy because it's an enchantment creature as well as spirit. But the important part is that whenever a player casts a spell with converted mana cost 3 or less, Eidolon of the Great Revel deals 2 damage to that player. And we're still sticking with the Aetherborn just to get around Revel's effect, because I feel like if I'm hurting myself, because it also hits me too, so if I'm hurting myself a little too much, I want to gain that 2 life back just in case. Another new card we're playing is Lightning Scamental, which is also a replacement for Desecration Demon. This one is actually incredible, which will do so much better now because it has Trample and Haste. Um, Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player literally discards 2 cards from their hand. But at the beginning of the end step is when I have to sacrifice Lightning Scale Mental. For what it's worth, I definitely approve of this card, and I feel like it actually serves a purpose with my win condition, and it meets the requirements in order to beat my opponent. So another card on max out, we're still keeping the Vex Neville again. Some people say it's still really bad, but it helps bait the opponent again, being able to deal 4 and then just helping me just be able to push for games. So because 4 is enough to ensure that I have as many I can deal as much damage as I can in order to inflict more damage to my opponent later. So eventually it can rather than reach 1, they can quickly go straight to 0. So. And you'll notice a lot, like the curve is very nice. Like like a lot of my main cards that are in the main deck, as you can tell, the most ever mana I've used is just 3. So I think that's definitely the way to go with this deck. Obviously for Lightning Bolt, not much to say. So our lands, only we managed to get rid of the blue, so we're not playing any islands. So 4 Blackleaf Cliffs, 3 Blood Crypt, 4 just and 6 fetch lands. The 4 Bloodstained Mire, another dual land playing Dragon Skull Summon. I originally didn't have this card, but because you want to be able to open with a lot of lands in order to actually push for your plays. So that's where I think it's very important. Even though the only thing this deck is lacking is draw power, but again, when you see a card that actually inflicts damage to your opponent, that's always a good sign. That means you're able to hurt your opponent, and that's the whole purpose of the deck. You just by drawing into your lands, I mean, and drawing into your burn cards, or again, or cards that discard or destroy whatever, or give you advantages. Like that's all. It's all like the cards that are non-lands are always. It's always a positive. That means you're essentially just keep hitting your opponent even more, and there's going to be a specific card as to why we're playing so many lands in this deck. Now we're playing a lot more basics, just 4 Mountain, 1 Polluted Delta, 1 Scalding Torrent, which is playing a lot more. But since we're not playing blue, it's just essential. It's just to be able to reduce the probably again to be able to increase our probability, be able to reduce the size of our deck a lot more easier. So essentially, you're plussing 6. It's essentially extra draw. So with having fetch lands. But again, 3 swamp, so it helps us be able to reach and be able to play specific cards whenever we need it. So even though a lot of them are The most is usually like 2 or 3 and less than that. But again, like having it just means that we can be able to play more cards potentially now in a lot of turns. So um, for our sorceries, just for in the night. Let me explain this card since it's new. Target opponent loses 3 life and has a flashback ability from grave. You pay 5 other colorless. You pay red. You may cast this card from Brigader for the flashback cost, then exile it, and then you get to burn them for 3 again. So you always this always there in case you know you're about to win. So that's the reason why we're playing so many lands. Just in case you know you're gonna win, you always have it because it ensures your victory. Always. Um, Rift Bolt, all those is a 3, but you're most likely going to use it for its suspend cost. So spend minus, like basically suspend 1, just 1 red. So you could pay this cost and exile this card, and then it gets a time counter. And then at the beginning of your upkeep is when this card is able to cast it, is when you're able to cast this card without having to pay its mana cost, because you already paid the 1 red last turn, so it'll be able to activate without having to use its cost on your upkeep. So for Thoughtseize, not much to explain. Again, be able to like hit our opponent's starters, just be able to look at their hand, be able to dig more info. And even though you lose to life, for what it's worth, it puts you at a good spot. Sideboard not any different again. There's only thing different. We're not playing Scarab God. We're just playing more Brave Board Breakers to replace Scarab God. So Bantu's Last Reckoning. I didn't really explain this card since it's new. It destroys all creatures, but lands you control to untap during your next untap step. Although that really sucks, but it all depends. But like if you, for what it's worth, it's a 3 cost, even though it requires 2 black. If you know you're in a situation where your opponent's overflooding the board with a ton of creatures, you might as well play, even though you can't be able to untap during your next untap step. For what it's worth, like because like it ensures that they don't, it puts them at a really uncomfortable spot. But at the same time, like even though you're in the same situation where you can't untap your lands after, but you want to make sure that you can save yourself before they can finish you, so that you have a chance to be able to like have a turn next for the next time. So even though it stops you from making extra plays later, but it ensures that they don't have enough to kill you, so you feel that you're on the safe side where they don't have to hit you for lethal damage. But again, for other board breakers, Crux of Fate, you have the choice to destroy all dragon creatures or non-dragon creatures, even though it costs like 5, which also requires 2 black. Damnation, which destroys all creatures on the field, but they can't be regenerated. 3 Engineer Explosives, has Sunburst. I feel like I already explained this card, but again, for those who are new, it gains a like a sunburst counter. It gets a charge counter for each color of mana spent to cast it, but a lot of times it's to get rid of tokens. But you can sacrifice Engineered Explosive, destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Engineered Explosives. 3 Shadow Storm, destroy all artifacts that can't be regenerated. 3 Soul Guide Lantern has a multitude of effects. When it enters the battlefield, you can exile target card from graveyard. You can sacrifice it to exile the opponent has graveyard, but you can sacrifice Soul Guide Lantern to draw a card, as well as paying 1 other mana after you tap it. And our last side deck card, again, this is to make our side deck more flexible, so we have more options depending on our matchups, because who knows, because again, depending how diverse the game is, there's so many uh, there's so many matches that you may end up like where you're not too sure of what deck you're up against, so you want to be able, you always want to prepare yourself. So that's why we're playing Tectonic Edge, which again allows us to add 1 mana to our mana pool, which is colorless. But another effect is when you could pay 1 mana, sacrifice Tectonic Edge to destroy and target non-basic land, activates ability only for your opponent controls 4 or more lands. Again, really helps because there may be a non-basic land that could be putting you at jeopardy, or it's helping them gain beneficial like effects, whether it be like life, power, more like be able to like mana fix and like gain more colors. That's the reason behind it. But again, the whole purpose, This is again, the side deck is a is a personal preference. Some people think you have to play based on like the current meta, but it all depends where you're picking. So it's 100%, it's 100% sure that I'll be prepared for that matchup because you don't know what you're gonna up against. Because again, at the end of the day, the matchups are pretty unpredictable, especially where you're going. Like, when you're, especially when if we're talking about locals, it's good. It might, who knows, it may be a lot more diverse. So you always got to prepare yourself with different cards that can actually be able to like overwhelm those matchups, that have an advantage over those over those decks or archetypes, or over whatever colors they're playing, um, whatever cards that you're aware of, whatever insight you have. This is me simply providing, since based on my insight, this is me providing my knowledge and sharing and utilizing these cards in the sideboard, because letting me know the like insight that I had from my experience, I can look forward to actually like prepare so against the decks that I had issues with. So I always feel like I'm sure of myself and I don't need to worry. So whatever deck they're playing, I feel like this side will help. So I don't have to really be confused or like be unsure of myself, so that I don't have to take too much time having to like take side cards and like be able to like do a side check in the middle of like game 2 or 3. So, but again, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Be sure to check for more upcoming content later in the future. Be sure to check your notifications. Comment, like, subscribe. Thank you.